Very big story that, of course, we've been following closely is what's been happening in Gaza, of course. But the latest development now is that Jordan is hosting an emergency international conference on the urgent humanitarian response for Gaza. Justice and Constitutional Development Minister Ronald Lamola is leading a South African delegation to the conference that's aimed at finding ways to address the ongoing humanitarian disaster in Gaza. Heads of state and government, as well as leaders of international humanitarian and relief organizations, are attending the conference that's entitled The Call for Action, Urgent Humanitarian Response to Gaza. Israel has been widely condemned for ignoring international humanitarian law in its invasion of Gaza on October the 7th. Hamas attacked southern Israel, killing about 1,200 people. To date, more than 37,000 Palestinians have been killed in the subsequent Israeli invasion of Gaza. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israeli troops will continue their actions in Gaza until Hamas is destroyed. For more on the conference, we are joined by the Justice and Constitutional Development Minister, Ronald Lamola. Minister, thank you for joining us and welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Leanne, and to the viewers of Morning Live.
Minister, may I assume you're already in Jordan because it does begin this morning, or are you on your way?
Yes, I am in Jordan.
Good. All right. So it starts today, and obviously this gathering of leaders are expected to find ways to strengthen a response to the humanitarian crisis in the Palestinian enclave. Do you think a ceasefire and negotiations have any chance of succeeding? Because to date, it's not too sure that anything has worked.
Yes, we think that it does have a chance of succeeding. And we want to see from the outcomes of the conference, humanitarian aid being enabled through the sea, air, and also in land, and all blockages that hinders aid into the Gaza Strip being removed, so that the people of Palestine can be able to access the much needed aid. And as you have said, this humanitarian aid will only be possible, practical, and enabled, as you are aware, through the ICJ ruling that only if there is a ceasefire in the area, because there has also been a lot of about 180 UNRWA employees working for the UN that have been killed in the Strip. So a ceasefire will definitely enable aid to enter unhindered, and the people can access various humanitarian needs that they need to access, the people of Palestine. Yeah. So it is against this background that as a country, we're participating in this conference to find solutions with regards to all those challenges, and to continue with our call for a ceasefire, which we believe is the only route that will enable humanitarian aid.
Indeed. And look, the reality is that there's been calls for ceasefires on more times than not. And we've seen South Africa even head to the ICJ declaring there's been a lot of movement on this and urging from nations for this ceasefire to take place. And yet it still doesn't. So we now see what's going to be happening in Jordan to try and see how this can be assisted in terms of getting more humanitarian aid. There are very top-level individuals that are attending. From what I'm seeing, besides South Africa as a country, attending other countries, Australia, Cyprus, Indonesia, Japan, Lebanon, Malaysia, Pakistan also, the UN Secretary General, the King of Jordan, obviously, the Egyptian president will be there, as well as the Palestinian Authority Chief Mahmoud Abbas. This is a big thing, but the bottom line is Israel. It doesn't seem that they will be in attendance. How will we coordinate that without the buy-in from Israel?
Yeah, we expect that this collective effort by the global community will continue to put pressure on Israel. As you are aware, even domestically, they are already under pressure themselves. And as you were also aware, the United States has tabled a resolution at the Security Council, which we also believe that if it takes into account all the issues, particularly all the parties, the Palestinian Authority, the Israel Authority, it will be able to nudge the state of Israel to accept the conditions for the unconditional release of hostages from both parties and the ceasefire that must have a three-phase process. So all those efforts, we believe they will converge, and the state of Israel will be nudged also by their own friends to enable a ceasefire, but also to enable the humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, which is much, much needed. As you are aware, the King of Jordan has, over time, since October, also flown a flight himself, symbolically, and also to show by dropping airdropping of aid and food in the Gaza Strip to show the much needed need. And this has also galvanized the international community to continue to call for allowance of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. So we do believe that all these efforts will culminate into a ceasefire, will also culminate into the state of Israel being nudged, hopefully by their friends like the US and other countries in the globe, to continue to allow and to now go straight into a ceasefire that will enable this humanitarian aid.
We know that the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is also going to be in attendance there. And I mean, this is his 8th visit to the region since the war broke out. That, of course, going to be giving weight to this as well. I mean, you spoke about the Friends of Israel, and this is, you know, obviously the United States now that are taking a bit of a different course. I mean, let's perhaps get your reaction to the United States stepping up pressure. This was yesterday for a Gaza ceasefire, with a call for a United Nations Security Council vote on a truce as it redeployed Washington's top diplomat to the region, scarred by this war that's been raging on for 8 months now.
Yeah, as South Africa, we welcome all efforts aimed to find peace in the Gaza Strip, including the efforts by the US, and we believe that it should take into account the ICJ ruling. It should take into account both parties, and as the resolution proposed, phase one, that must culminate into a ceasefire in the three-phase process, and the last phase being the one dealing with the reconstruction at equal length with the Palestinian authorities. That will be what can enable a ceasefire to work, and also the humanitarian aid to continue continuously unhindered. And we believe that this will work, particularly if the US urges and ensures that the Israel accept this. As you'll be aware, Mr. Netanyahu has repeatedly said he will not accede to this. But we believe that with them continuing to nudge him and the state of Israel, we may end up with a resolution that culminates into this ceasefire, and also pressure being put to the state of Israel to allow for humanitarian aid and to cease all hostilities in line also with the ICJ ruling.
The territory's food, water, energy, medical supplies, everybody, every form of service has basically ground to a halt. I mean, we've seen the borders being closed. They have been closed into Gaza for months now. And the starvation that we're hearing about, the unprecedented medical emergencies that are occurring, all of these things are being exacerbated daily within Gaza and that strip. This is a massive opportunity now, as you've got literally a meeting happening on a border that's right next to Gaza, where we are going to see this meeting taking place in Jordan by the Red Sea, I beg your pardon. Talk to us about, how do you feel about this? Do you think there will be immediate plans that can happen to deliver this much needed aid to people that are dying on a daily basis right now, to just give them some form of relief? Is the plan to get an immediate solution right now to try and get humanitarian aid there?
Yes, Leon, you're right. It's the Dead Sea. So the there is indeed immediate plan. And if you look into the agenda of the conference, it has got 3 work streams speaking about how humanitarian aid will be done, and also ensuring the issues dealing with mitigating factors, the risks, and also the phase of reconstruction. And as you said, we are just by the doorstep of Jerusalem. From where I'm sitting, I can see Jerusalem, I can see Jericho. So Jordan is well located geographically to be hosting this conference and to continue to put the necessary pressure for an immediate ceasefire and immediate steps being taken immediately from this conference to enable humanitarian aid, which is much needed in the Gaza Strip. So with how the agenda is crafted, it is an implementation plan and crafted in a manner that without delay, there must be implementation of the humanitarian need. And I believe the King of Jordan, as I've said, he has symbolically shown in the past, and he continues to lead the humanitarian aid as he hosts some and most of the refugees from Palestine. And he also fly the flag himself, the flight himself to drop food into the Gaza Strip to enable people to eat the much needed. And as a country, South Africa, we also, in addition to the ICJ case, have also pledged our support through various humanitarian interventions to ensure that indeed there is humanitarian aid. So we do believe that this is a very important conference, which could also represent a key important milestone in the ceasefire and to find a long-lasting solution, particularly with the two-state solution, and also to cement the need and of humanitarian intervention and a long-lasting solution into the Gaza Strip between Israel and the Palestinian authorities.
Minister, thanks very much for joining us. Obviously, this begins today. Is this just for one day? Will it be wrapped up today? So we'll start getting an understanding as to the outcomes by the end of today.
Yes.
Good. Minister, thank you. Thanks so much for talking to us. That's our Justice and Constitutional Development Minister, Ronald Lamola, talking to us from Jordan. He's about to go into this very high-level conference on Gaza that's taking place in Jordan to try and find ways to get more humanitarian assistance to the people of Gaza.